In 1876, on a quiet Georgia plantation, 42 men, women, and children vanished overnight. Families were torn apart, homes abandoned, and the earth itself seemed to swallow them whole. For generations, their disappearance remained a whispered legend, dismissed as superstition or forgotten by those who wanted the truth buried. But when researchers finally returned to the fields, they uncovered something far darker than anyone imagined. Evidence of cruelty, so severe it reshaped the story of America's past. What really happened to those 42 souls? And why was their suffering erased from history? The plantation in question stretched across acres of Georgia farmland, fertile soil that once grew cotton, tobacco, and sorrow. In the aftermath of the Civil War, freedom was promised to the enslaved. But the reality was different. Many black families, desperate to survive, remained tied to the land as sharecroppers, working under crushing debt and relentless control. Among them was a Harris family, a group of hard-working parents and children who believed that perhaps, with persistence, life could improve. The children attended makeshift schools under oak trees. Their parents saved pennies for tools, and the dream of independence glimmered faintly. Yet, beneath that fragile hope lurked an unspoken fear. Former masters and overseers had not disappeared. They simply changed their titles, now hiding cruelty behind contracts and laws. The Harris family was not alone. Dozens of others labored alongside them, building a fragile community on soil heavy with blood. They shared food, sang hymns, and whispered prayers into the night, even as rumors spread of landowners punishing those who tried to leave. What no one could predict was that this community, 42 lives in total, would one day vanish without explanation, leaving only the echo of their footsteps across abandoned fields. What could drive such a disappearance? And why would an entire community's story be scrubbed from the pages of history? The years following 1876 were marked by violent backlash across the South. Reconstruction laws promised freedom, yet white supremacist groups and powerful landowners worked tirelessly to enforce control. In Georgia, plantations that once thrived on slavery reinvented themselves through sharecropping, trapping black families in cycles of debt that rivaled bondage itself. The Harris family began noticing strange shifts. Tools left in the fields vanished overnight. The meager harvest they worked tirelessly to grow was recalculated by overseers, leaving them deeper in debt than the season before. Neighbors who dared to protest found their homes mysteriously burned, their families gone without farewell. Then came the whispers. Some said men cloaked in hoods rode through the night, dragging families from their cabins. Others believed the land itself was cursed, refusing to let those who suffered on it ever find peace. But the truth was more sinister. This was not accident nor superstition, but deliberate erasure. One night, lanterns flickered across the fields. The Harris family watched as shadows moved silently between cabins. Doors creaked, screams broke the silence, and then nothing. By dawn, 42 people, entire families, were gone. Their belongings were scattered, meals left half-eaten, and the cabin stood hollow as though life had been ripped away in a single breath. Neighbors from nearby towns dared not question. Newspapers avoided the story. Plantation owners called it migration, claiming the families simply moved west. But those who knew better whispered that the truth was buried deep within the earth. For decades, nothing more was said. Generations passed. The plantation fell to ruin, and weeds overtook the fields. But history has a way of clawing back to the surface. In the late 20th century, researchers returned, curious about the legend. When they began digging, the silence finally broke, and the ground began to speak. Beneath the fields, researchers uncovered shallow graves, rows of unmarked pits containing remains of men, women, and children. The bones told stories no one wanted to hear. Fractures suggested beatings, shackles hinted at captivity long after slavery had ended, and evidence of mass burial suggested something planned, not accidental. The most haunting discovery was a grouping. Entire families buried together, as though their last moments were spent clinging to one another. What had been dismissed as folklore now stood as undeniable truth. These 42 people had not vanished by choice. They had been erased, silenced, and hidden under the very soil they once toiled to cultivate. The Harris family's remains were among them. Parents clasped beside their children, Their dream of independence had been extinguished by those determined to maintain power, no matter the cost. The revelation sent shockwaves through historians and communities alike. This was not simply a tragedy of one plantation. It was a symbol of how violence and racism shaped the nation long after the abolition of slavery. The question that lingered: how many other stories remain buried, both literally and figuratively, waiting to be unearthed? The discovery forced a painful reckoning. The vanished 42 were no longer nameless shadows. They became voices demanding acknowledgement. Memorials were proposed, their grave protected, and descendants sought answers long denied. But the emotional weight went beyond one plantation. The story reminded America of a truth too often ignored. Freedom, for many, was delayed, denied, or destroyed. Racism did not end with emancipation. It adapted, taking new forms in laws, contracts, and violence hidden in plain sight. The Harris family, once forgotten, now symbolize resilience amid terror. Their story challenges us not just to remember history, but to confront the systems that continue to echo its cruelty. What other fields, what other towns still hide their secrets beneath the soil? How many stories remain untold, waiting for us to listen? The tragedy of 1876 is not just history. It is a mirror, and when we dare look into it, the reflection is haunting but necessary.